Tamara Basic Tease here, and after doing some soul searching and trying to do something else, I've come back to doing YouTube videos. So today, I'm going to show you how to make a super low rise comfort thong. I've had a couple subscribers ask in the last couple months, and I've been spacing it off and not doing videos, so let's learn how to sew. We are at the Serger machine right now, and this super low-rise thong has three main pieces, the two side straps and then the thong itself. And then there's four if you include the lining, but you don't always have to line your items. This is a super low rise, so if you were to wear it, your pubic hair is going to show. So you're going to have to shave unless you like that 70s look. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sew in the elastic. So I'm going to put the lining on top of the elastic, feed that down underneath, and this elastic is attached to my attachment. If you have an attachment, use it. If you don't, you can refer to video number 27 that talks about my Serger sewing machines, and I kind of show you how to sew in elastic without the attachment. So I've got it on top of each other, the elastic's right on the edge where I want to put it, and I'm going to start sewing. I'm just going to go to the other side because I don't want to lose this chain from the elastic. It wastes elastic to me if I cut it off each time. So I got my scissors, so I'm going to just clip these off because they're together and I don't need them that way. And then the next way I'm going to go is over here. And you notice sometimes the elastic, not the elastic, but the lining doesn't always line up exactly with the pattern piece. So you're going to just cut that extra off because it's stretchy. So feed it underneath. This kind of hangs over a little bit more on the right hand side because I'm going to just cut that off with a serger stitch. And just make sure that eventually the sides line up together. And you don't want to pull on it at all because it'll affect the attachment. So for the last one I did cut it out because it's kind of inconvenient to wrap it around like this. So you just start it on the end and you're going to go back towards the lining. So usually I try to look at the grain of my fabric and make sure that the lining is there, or sometimes just a little, like 1/8 of an inch past where it should line up because it kind of moves sometimes. And when I've gotten here, I did cut off like 1/8 of an inch of the lining because it didn't line up, and you can feel it. Sometimes it's more than that, but you can feel where the lining overlaps. So I just kind of touch it and feed it through until they match up. So you see, like right here, the fabric normal piece goes out farther than your lining, but the elastic's going to cover it up, so it doesn't really matter. So that's the last of sewing in the elastic. This is what the piece looks like, and then it's got all those little pucker pieces from sewing in the elastic. And for some weird reason, sometimes it seems like thongs always sway one way more than the other. I don't know why. So the next one is you're going to take your two side straps. You could put elastic in here if you wanted a more tight fit, but I feel like fabric's better than just elastic because it doesn't cut into your sides quite as much. And then, so this is stretchy. It's a two-way stretch fabric instead of 4, so I made it so it was stretchy around the waist. And you're just gonna fold this in half and sew them through. I take this string turner thing after I'm done sewing these two pieces together, not together two pieces, but folding them and sewing them individually because they are still two separate pieces, and just turn the strings around. And then after this, we are going to go over to the cover stitch machine, or you could also use a zigzag machine. So now we're just gonna hem this elastic underneath. You could do it at a zigzag machine too. And I usually pull a little bit to the left, because if you don't, it gets a pucker on the side. So this one, you know, I didn't attach the lining down all the way. It's pretty good though. So just hem all four sides around. So you could leave these two pieces as two pieces, but I like to kind of put a finishing stitch on the edge of them. So just kind of flatten it out, and you got to roll it and wiggle it a little bit to get it so it's right where that edge is, where the seam is, and you're just going to sew that through. One more stitch on the thong part, putting the elastic under. So each time I'm kind of taking my nails and pushing it back so that this seam is right up against the edge. So now I usually cut off the extra on the end. I don't know if you can see it right there. There's a little bit more lining sticking out than there is fabric. So I usually cut it off. This one's got a whole bunch of lining underneath that's not even. I actually have problems with lining when it comes to like full back bikinis. I don't usually line the backs of them. I usually just line the fronts of them. So I've cut off all those elastic edges. And then you do the same thing with these. You see how it kind of has moved farther over on one side than the other? These are the side straps. So you kind of just cut them straight across. You don't really want to cut too much off because you measured, these are like pre-measured and cut out for whatever size you want it to be. Now onto the straight stitch machine. So when you've got all the edges finished, you just pin down the side straps. Stretchy fabric is slippery, it moves. You need to pin it down. Sometimes I try to do things without it pinned down and it doesn't work. So the right side front is going to connect to the right side back, and you're going to pin down both sides. Same thing with the other side. I am really particular, and I usually do this cover stitch mark, or it might be a zigzag mark for you. I try to make it face down on both sides instead of the opposite direction. I notice little details like this. And if it looks like there's like a little bit of extra room here on the pattern piece as opposed to the strap, just push it together so that they are even. See, it's a little bit bigger here. You're just going to push it in a little bit and make it about the same. Everyone's sewing machine's different, so you gauge on your machine where you want this to sew. So now I'm just going to sew each side and take the pins out. So when you're done with that, you're just going to fold both pieces in. I don't usually pin them back down again, but sometimes they do move. You could repin them down. It's up to you. I do kind of hold them in place with my fingernails though. So there's the back done. If you're real particular, just cut the edge off. I have come to the conclusion that probably nobody really cares or notices besides me. I've talked about that before. So let's sew the front down. Just fold it over. Cut the edge off if you want to. Clean up all my scraps. I'm kind of a mess. So this is your completed super low rise comfort thong. Make sure you cut off some extra threads. I've had a bad review before on Etsy because I had extra threads sticking out. You can see it kind of slipped up there, but in all honesty, I'm usually the only person that notices. Nobody really says anything to me about it. And just so you know, this thong is going to fall lower than your pubic line. It's really, really low. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you learned something. If you're interested in buying the PDF pattern, it'll be available on my Etsy store at basicteaseboutique.com or on my website at basictease.com. If you like what I'm dishing out on my channel, then go ahead and subscribe so you can stay up to date on what's happening and what I am trying to teach you about sewing sexy. So until next time, stay sexy. Bye.